All right, good morning, mathematicians. Here's the video that I promised you that walks you through the study guide you guys can find in your packets. And this is on pages 23 through 27. Yes, you heard that correctly, 23 through 27, my goodness. So just to remind you guys, I gave you guys quite a bit of time to do this in class, so as you're studying, it might be a good idea to review this study guide, make sure that, just make sure that you're following along, that you remember how to do the steps, you remember your formulas, you remember all of that good stuff, okay? So with that, let's go ahead and dive right in. So it says, for exercises 1 through 6, find the area and perimeter of each figure. Show your work. And then figures are not drawn to scale. That means they're not actually the measurements that they say they are, because that would take up quite a bit of space. So these first, I don't know if you guys saw these, but see these I don't know, they're not even sentences. They don't have periods at the end of them. It just says to explain the steps to finding area of a parallelogram. Right, so we should probably explain in words how we find the area of a parallelogram. And you guys might remember that it is the same as finding the area of a rectangle. Right, and that we're multiplying the dimensions of the base and the height together. So we'll say you multiply I'm going to say the length of the base by the height of the parallelogram. And I know what you're thinking. You're probably saying, Mr. RG, that's such a long explanation. Why can't I just say base times height? And I will say, because if you can explain it to somebody, if you can explain the process, then that shows you have a good level of understanding of the concept, right? So I encourage you guys to make your explanations kind of thorough. They don't, it doesn't need to be an essay, but I just want you to be able to expand a little bit more on these steps. Okay, and then explain the steps to finding the area of a triangle. Well, you first multiply the length of the base by the height of the triangle. Then, and I'm going to put this in all caps and underline it, then you must divide by 2. Because if you were to just multiply the length of the base times the height, you would get the area of the square or the rectangle, not the triangle. Okay, so again, we're having you guys refresh your memory on how to find the area of these two shapes here. Okay, so to find the area, so we said that the area, we take the length of the base and we multiply it by the height. Well, in this case, you guys will notice that this side is 13, this side is 15, right? And I want to bring your attention to these little tick marks here. So because the side of 13 has 2 tick marks, and then the side opposite of it also has 2 tick marks, we're going to say that that side is also 13. And then I think you guys can assume that this 1 tick mark here means that that side is 15. Well, first we got to figure out, well, which one is the base and which one is the height. The base, you'll notice, is it tends to be at the bottom, but more importantly, it is the side that the height touches. Okay, I'm gonna highlight the height in red. This right here is our height, and you'll notice that it is touching the side that is 13 feet long. So we have to use 13 as our base length, and then 14 will be our height. Ooh, excuse me. Okay, and so we're going to multiply 14 times 13. And I will say, you guys, to definitely get in the habit of writing out your multiplication, right? Because our next unit is going to be a lot of that, and we're not going to allow you guys to use calculators on it either. So now is the time to review. All right, 14 times 13, let me just double check that I did this correctly, because I was not paying full attention. Okay, I think I am good. So my final answer is not only 182, but 182 square feet. Okay, so don't forget the units there. Don't forget to label your numbers. You got to make meaning out of those. All right, and then perimeter. Perimeter, you guys might remember that that the perimeter is the length of the outside of a shape. Okay, so that means that you have to take all of the sides, all the lengths of the sides, excuse me, and you must add them together. So we are finding the length of this pink section here. So it looks like I'm going to be adding 15 plus 15 plus 13 plus 13 to get my perimeter. I know that 15 plus 15 is 30, and then I know that 13 plus 13 is 26. So when I add 30 plus 26, what do I get? I get 56. And this is just going to be 56 feet because we're not talking about area and we're not talking about volume. So it's just going to be plain old feet. All right, let's go ahead and move on to the next one. We got a triangle here. First, I would suggest writing your formula. So the area is equal to base times height divided by 2. You can write it like this, or you can also write it like this, 1/2 base times height. Okay, let's find the base. So remember, the base is the side that the height touches, or that it's that it touches, and it creates this little right angle here. Okay, so it looks like the base is going to be 30. So I'm going to make a little list here. The base is 30, and then the height of the triangle is going straight down the middle there. So the height is going to be 20. So all I got to do is plug this into my formula here. So I know that I'm going to take 30, and I'm going to multiply it by 20, and then I'm going to divide that number by 2. So 30 times 20. Well, I know that 3 times 2 equals 6, but then there are 2 zeros, so my answer must be 600. And I'm going to divide that by 2. I can also show my work over here. 0 times 0 is 0, 0 times 3 is 0, 2 times 0 is 0, and 2 times 3 is 6. So when you add all these together, you get 600. Okay, so far so good. 600 divided by 2 does give me 300. So my answer is going to be 300, and my units are inches. So I'm going to be at square inches. Okay, and let's find the perimeter. Remember, the perimeter is just all of the outside lengths added together. So remember, they're the outside length, so I'm going to ignore this 20 inches on the inside. Do not add that. So we're just going to add 25 plus 25 plus 30. I know that 25 plus 25 is 50, and then 50 plus 30 gives me 80. So my perimeter is going to be 80 inches. And there we go. Okay, and let's take a look at this next problem. Right, so it looks like we have a parallelogram again. So we are going to use the formula. Area equals base times height. The base of the parallelogram is 5 centimeters. And the height, in this case, is drawn outside. Okay, so you're going to use 4 as your height here. So you're going to do 5 times 4, and that gives you 20. So the area of this parallelogram is 20 centimeters squared. And then for perimeter, like I was saying earlier, you're adding up all of the outside. All of the, I don't want to say outside because our height is outside, but I want to say the outside of the shape that we are finding the perimeter of. So in this case, we are just adding 5 4 times. So you do 5 plus 5 plus 5 plus 5, or you could do 5 times 4, which also gives you 20. And our units are in centimeters. Okay, last one. Last one with the areas here. Actually, the rest of this is going to be areas as well. Okay, so we have a triangle here. So the area formula we're going to use is base times height, and we're going to divide it by 2. So remember that the base is always the side that the height is touching, right? So in this case, our height is touching that 12 centimeters. So our base is going to be 12, and our height is going to be 8. Well, 12 times 8, if you remember your times tables, is 96. And then 96 divided by 2 gives you, I believe it's 48. So the area of this triangle is 48 square centimeters. Okay, let's find the perimeter. Remember, the perimeter is all of, or the length of the outside of the shape. So all we got to do is we have to find all the lengths of the outside of the shape. So there's a side of 12 centimeters, there's a side of 15 centimeters, and then the last side is 10 centimeters. And all we're going to do is we're going to add them together. So 15 plus 10 is 25. 25 plus 12 is 37. So it looks like our perimeter is 37. All right, let's keep going. Page 24. Here we go. Some composite figures or irregular shapes. Now, the best strategy you guys can use is to decompose these shapes into familiar ones. So take this weird shape and make it into shapes that you are familiar with, that you guys know how to work with. So one way you could split this is maybe make a rectangle here, and then maybe make a rectangle there, and a square, it looks like. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so to find the area of this irregular shape, you got to find the area of this rectangle. You got to find the area of this rectangle, and then you got to find the area of that square, and then you're just going to add them all together. So let's find the areas of the ones we can first. So I see this first rectangle here. Right, I'm going to use area equals base times height, so it's going to be 10 times 4. So this area is going to be 40. Then I'm going to do this in red, this square over here. I'll highlight this in red. There we go. Okay, and I know that the area of a square is base times height, so I'm going to do 6 times 6, which gives me 36. Okay. Now I need to find the area of this rectangle in the middle. I'll do this in pink. Okay. The only thing that's concerning to me is that I don't have any of the dimensions. So bear with me for a second. I know that from here all the way to the end is 12, just like they told me. Okay. Now, taking a look over here, where my star is. This red shape is a square. And what do you know about the side lengths of squares? What do you know about the sides of squares? Hopefully you said that all squares have the same, or let me say that again. Squares have all the same side lengths. So if the bottom of the square is 6, so is that side, so then that must mean that this side is 6, and then that also must mean that from there to there is also 6. Okay? So first thing that I see is that, well, in blue here, from there to there, do they tell us how long that is? They actually tell us that that is 2. So if that is 2, and you know that the entire piece from the top to the bottom is 6, well, how much do you have left over for this pink rectangle? Well, hopefully you did 6 minus 2, and that gives you 4. And there we go. Okay, so we're almost done. We just need this length right here. That pink question mark. Okay, so similarly, in black, I told you guys that the entire top side, right? So in this star here, the entire top side is 12, right? But you know that this red section, I'm going to highlight it here, that this red section is 6, right? So just that red square part, just the top of that red square. So if that side is 6, what do you guys think the pink side is? Well, hopefully you said 6, because 12 minus 6 is 6. So that means that this pink question mark is 6. So to find the area of that rectangle, we're going to do base times height, and you're going to take 6 and you're going to multiply it by 4, which is the height, to get 24. And there we go. So to find the total area, you're going to add 40 plus 24. Let's do that first. So that's 64 plus 36. 6 plus 4 is 10. 3 plus 6 is 9. Plus 1 is also 10. So it looks like the area is 100, and we don't have any units. So I'm going to say 100 square units. Okay. Cool, we found the area. Not too bad, right? Now, remember, the perimeter is all of the outside. So I got to add this 10 plus this 4 plus this unknown part plus the 6 plus the 2 plus another 6 plus another 6 plus the 12 plus the 2 and then plus whatever this is. So I have a few mystery dimensions here. Okay, so I think the easiest one is probably that top brown question mark. You know that this length down here is 4, and this shape is a rectangle, so therefore this top rectangle must also be 4. Okay, all right, and then similarly, you guys might notice that the bottom 4 is also the length of this side here. Now let me show you why. Because you know this pink section right here is 4, right? And then you know that from here to here is 10, right? If you were to add this blue 2 plus 4, that'd be 6. Well, how much do you have left over? Well, there you get your answer of 4. So I think now we have all the pieces that we need. So I'm going to add 10 plus the bottom 4. I'm just going around kind of in order. Well, actually, yes, in order. Plus 4. Then next comes 6 plus the 2 plus another 6 plus another 6. I'm going to continue down here. Plus a 12 plus a 2 and then plus a 4. So once I add all of these together, then I will have my perimeter. Okay, 10 plus 4 is 14, plus another 4 is 18, plus 6 is 24, plus 2 is 26, plus 6 is 32, plus 6 is 38. 38 plus 12 gives me 50. 52 plus 4 is 56. And I don't have any units, so I'm just going to write units. So let me double check just in case. 10 plus 4 gives me 14, plus 4 gives me 18, plus 6, 24, plus 2 is 26, plus 6 is 32, plus another 6 is 38, plus 12 is 50, plus 2 plus 4 is 56. Okay, there we go. It's always good to double check. All right, another problem. Let's go ahead and do the same type of thing. We're going to split this letter E into shapes we know how to find the area of. So I see a rectangle there. I see the same exact rectangle on the bottom. And then I can create a little square there. And there we go. Okay. I'm going to write in some dimensions that I don't know yet. I know this side is going to be 3. I'm going to cross out this 12 for now. Okay. Don't forget it's there, but I'm just going to cross it out so we don't get confused. Okay. Then I also know, because of this 3, I know the left side is 3. Okay. I know, I'm going to switch colors here. I know that this entire side should be 6, right? Because this is 6. But I know that this is 4. So how many is left over? Well, this should be 2. How long is this piece right here? Well, you'll notice that I got a little square on the right side, so all of the sides should be the same. So that's going to be 2 as well. And then this will be 2 as well. Well, now let's take a look. How long is this piece from here to here? Well, remember that from the very top to the very bottom is 12. I have a 3 and I have a 3, which is 6. How much is left over for this piece right here? Only 6. Okay, now I think we have all the dimensions we need to find the areas. So this rectangle right here, we're going to use base times height, so 6 times 3, so that's 18. It also matches that rectangle down there, so I know that's another 18. This rectangle right here in orange, we're going to do area is equal to 6 times 2, so this area is 12. And then this little square is all we're missing. And we're going to find that area by doing 2 times 2, so that area is 4. So let's go ahead and add all of those together. So I have 18 plus 18 plus 12 plus 4. I know 18 plus 18 is 36. 36 plus 12 gives me 48. Plus 4 gives me 52. And they give me units this time, so it's going to be 52 square centimeters. All right, let's find the perimeter. Remember, I have to add everything. I have to add everything along the outside. Please forgive me, guys. My Apple Pen died. Okay, so please bear with me. So I have a 3. No, sorry. Remember that this entire side is 12. So I'm going to say 12 plus 6 plus a 3 plus a 4. So I'm kind of going in order. Plus 2 plus 2 plus 2 plus 2. How many 2's is that? 1, 2, 3, 4. I need one more. Plus 2. So continuing down here. Plus 4 plus 3 and then plus 6. Once I add those together, then I get my perimeter. So let's go ahead and do that. 12 plus 6 is 18, plus 3 is 21, plus 4 is 25, plus 2 is 27, plus another 2 is 29, 31, 33, 35, plus 4 is 39, plus 3 is 42, plus 6 is 48. So it looks like our perimeter is 48 centimeters. And there we go. Okay, you guys. All right, we're moving into surface area. So believe it or not, surface area is kind of close to what we did here, right? Except now we're working with three-dimensional figures, right? So we're working with these things that we call nets. And remember that nets fold into three-dimensional figures, okay? The first thing that I want to point out to you guys is that this entire length right here is 8. Yeah, so you'll notice that they split it into 4 centimeters and 4 centimeters, okay? So the first thing, now that we know that, the first thing we are going to do is we're going to find the area of each part of this shape, or each part of this net, and that's going to help us find the surface area. So I hope you guys notice that all 4 of these triangles are congruent. They are the same. So if you know to find the area of one of the triangles and then just add it 4 times, then you're saving yourself a bunch of time. So remember that the area of a triangle is you're going to take your base times your height, and then you're going to divide it by 2. Again, forgive my handwriting here. Okay, so it looks like the base of my triangle, I'll highlight it in pink, is going to be the very, that pink side there. So my base is going to be 8. I'm multiplying it by the height of my triangle, which is 6, this in purple. Okay, and so I know that is 48, and then I have to divide this by 2. So 48 divided by 2 is 24. So all of these triangles have an area of 24. Okay, all right, and then the only other shape that we have is this square in the middle. So right here, this square in the middle, we got to find the area of that. Well, you know that this side is 8. So what do you know about all the sides? All the sides are going to be 8. So to find the area of the square, you're just going to do base times height. So 8 times 8. So you get 64. And there we go. So what we're going to do is we're going to add 24, right? And we're adding 4 of them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply 24 times 4. And that gives me 96. And then I'm just going to add my 64, which is the bottom, the square. So 96 plus 64, and that gives me 160 for my surface area. And they give me my units, which is centimeters. And we're talking about area, so it is squared. Now, what type of solid is this? Let me move this. Remember, we're talking about, well, what happens when you fold this? When you fold all of those triangles upward, you guys might notice that it creates a pyramid. But more specifically, right, you guys can name these pyramids by the shape that's on the very bottom. What shape is on the very bottom? Well, it's a square, and then you would just attach the word pyramid. And that's what we call it. Okay. Let's go ahead and find the surface area of this rectangular prism. Let me write that in first. Let me scroll up so I can see. Rectangular prism. That's what kind of solid we have here. Okay, in other words, a box. So I always tell you guys to start out with finding the congruent figures. So you know that red rectangle is the same as this one. Well, what are the dimensions of this red rectangle? You know the base is 8 and the height is 4. So when you multiply 8 times 4, that doesn't look like an 8. 8 times 4 is 32. So you know you have these two as 32 square inches. Next, I have these green rectangles. It actually doesn't matter which order you do this in, but that's what I'm going to do for now. The dimensions are, I believe it's an 8 by 2 inches. So we're going to multiply 8 times 2, and we get 16 for both of those. And then we have the final two rectangles on the outside, these little flaps here. And they give us the dimensions, which is 4 by 2. So it looks like, I think I'll just do my 8s like that for now. So that's going to be 8 a piece. So for the surface area, the last step you got to do is add everything together. So 32 plus 16 plus another 16 plus 2 8s. So I'm just going to say another 16. I know that 32 plus 32 is 64. And then I have another 32, which is these 16s. So 64 plus 32 is equal to 96. And 96 plus 16 gives me 112. So my surface area is 112 square inches. And there we go. We got one more solid to do. And you guys will notice that we have well, I guess I'll just write it here again. Rectangular prism. I'll move that down here. So when we fold the shape, we create a box. Okay. So doing a very similar process here, we're going to find the congruent parts, and we're going to find the surface area. So I'm going to start with this rectangle in blue. And I know that this rectangle is congruent to it. It is the same size and the same shape. I know the dimensions are 3 by 6. So when I multiply 6 times 3, I get 18. So both of these are going to have an area of 18. Let me erase some here so I have some space to work. Next, these red flaps here. I know the dimensions are 3 by 2, so when I multiply them together, I get 6. 6 and 6, there we go. And then these last two rectangles are indeed congruent to each other. And that's 6, and I know that this side is 2, so therefore the area of these green rectangles are 12, or is 12. Excuse me, 6. So I'm going to add all these together as my final step. 6 plus 6 plus 12 plus 12 plus 18 plus 18. I know that 6 plus 6 is 12, and then 12 plus 12 is 24, and then 18 plus 18 is 36. 12 plus 24 is 36, and then 36 plus 36 is equal to 72. And we are in centimeters again. Okay, we are almost done, you guys. I keep drawing on my page. There we go. Okay, for the following exercises, it says the Cinnamon Toast Crunch cereal company sells 2 sizes of cereal, a micro box and a jumbo box. Use the information below to answer the questions and remember to show your work. So it says how many square inches of cardboard are needed to make the micro box. So here we are solving for surface area, and we're only looking at the micro box here, okay? So we give you guys a folded 3D shape. It's not unfolded anymore. So the strategy we taught you guys is to find, we'll actually draw the rectangles, find the surface, or find the areas of each of those, and then count how many rectangles you have, okay? So the first rectangle that I see is this one that's staring at me in the face. This right here. Okay, I'm going to draw it off to the side here. I know that its dimensions are 2 by 8. Okay, so therefore this area is 16. And how many of these rectangles do I have on the cereal box? I have 2 of them. So when I'm finding the surface area, I have to remember to add 2 of them. Okay. Then on the very top is the next rectangle that I see. I know I'm not drawing very well here, but the dimensions of this small red rectangle are 4 and 2. And so when I find the area of this, that's going to give me 8. Now you have to ask yourself, how many of these red rectangles do you have? Well, there's one on top and there's one on the bottom. So when you add, you have to add 2 8s. All right, there's one more pair of rectangles, and that is the very front. So it kind of looks like this. I know that the base is 4 and the height is 8. Therefore, the area is 32. How many of these blue rectangles are there on the box? There are 2 of them. There's a front and there's a back. So we have to add 2 32s. So let's add all of these together. 32 plus 32 gives me 64. 8 plus 8 gives me 16. There we go. And then I know 16 plus 16 is 32. So if I add 80 plus 32, I get a surface area of 112 square inches. And that's my answer. Okay, let's talk about volume now. What is the volume of the microbox? I got to show my work here. Remember that volume is equal to length times width times height. We also talked about this formula as well. Volume equals capital B for base area, and you are multiplying it by the height. So what you got to do is you are going to take the length of your box, which is 4. You're going to multiply it by the width of your box, which is 2, and then you're going to multiply it by how tall your box is, and in this case the micro box is 8 inches tall. So we do 4 times 2, which is 8, and then 8 times 8 equals 64. And remember that volume is measured in units cubed. So our answer is 64 cubic inches, or 64 inches cubed. All right, we're going to use the same formulas for the jumbo box. Okay. And the dimensions of the base are 12 by 6. So I'm going to do 12 times 6, and that is 72. Now what I need to do, now that I have my base area, I'm going to multiply it by the height of the jumbo box, which is 24. Oh, that's a big number. 72 times 24 is what I need to do next. So that's going to be 8. That's going to be 28. That's going to be 4. And that's going to be 14. So when I add these together, I get 8. That's 12, carry the 1, 6, 7, 1,728. And we are still in cubic inches. Okay, you guys, hang in there. We're almost done. Final page. On this page, we're not going to do this question, okay, because we didn't talk about it, and I don't want you guys to freak out. This isn't going to be on your test, okay? All right, what is the volume of a third big box if it has a length of 21 2/10 inches, a width of 12 3/10 inches, and a height of 25.5 inches? Show your work. So no change here. All it is they're giving us some words instead of a picture here. So if you remember that you're supposed to multiply your length times your width times your height, you will find your volume. They tell us that the length is 21 2/10. So we're going to multiply that by the width, which is 12 3/10. And then you're going to multiply that by 25.5 inches. So grab your trusty calculators. We do 21.2, multiply that by 12.3, and we multiply that by 25.5. And we got a lot of cereal here. 6,649 and 38 hundredths cubic inches. Come on. There we go. It is really hard to write with my finger here, but you guys get the picture. Okay, last question. Which box holds the most cereal? Well, you guys are probably thinking, well, the larger the number, the larger the cereal. So we have our big box, and then a perfect explanation would just be to say that, here, let me move this up a little bit. Let's make this bigger. The big box has the greatest volume. You could also say it has the largest volume. So I'll put largest in parentheses. And there you go. There you have it. So that is your study guide. Pages 27, 26, 25, 24, and 23. That was a lot, but you guys did it. You hung in there. So these are all the things you're going to need to know for your test on Thursday, okay? Well, Thursday for even kids, and then Wednesday for odd kids, okay? So, again, please let me know if you guys have questions. Please come see me during RAM time. I will be so happy to help you guys. All right. Well, that's it for me.